Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May peace be upon us all. Honorable Minister of Communication and Digital, Ibu Mutiafiada Hafid, former Ministers of Kabinet Indonesia Bersatu, Bapak Hatta Rajasa dan Bapak Gita Wirjawan, Deputy Chief Executive Officer, SBY Media, Mr. Kwek Yu Chuang, Founder and Chief Executive Officer, Tech in Asia, Mr. Willis Wee, Managing Director, Tech in Asia Indonesia, Mr. Nofrizal Pratama, Chief Operating Officer of Tech in Asia, Ms. Maria Lee, Editor-in-Chief of the Business Times, Ms. Chen Huifen. Distinguished business leaders, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored and delighted to be with you all at the Asia Economic Summit 2025. I want to extend my sincere appreciation to Tech in Asia, the Business Times, and SBY Media for organizing this vital gathering. The theme of this year's summit, Uniting for Prosperity, the shared visions of Southeast Asia's economic future, is relevant and also timely. Today, I stand before you to offer a perspective on how Southeast Asia can truly unite for long-term prosperity. This means not just deepening our cooperations, but also actively strengthening mutual trust and collectively building a future that genuinely works for all. Allow me now to begin with a brief personal reflections. My journey spans over 4 decades in public service, initially as a military officer, then a government minister, and ultimately as the 6th President of the Republic of Indonesia. For a decade, from 2004 to 2014, I had the honor of leading the world's 3rd largest democracy and Southeast Asia's largest economy. Those were not easy years. We confronted many formidable challenges such as persistent terrorist threats, devastating natural disaster, and global financial crisis. Yet, through it all, we stood firm and emerged stronger. We maintained political stability and conducted peaceful and democratic elections in both 2009 and 2014. This showed the maturity of our democracy. We reformed our executive and judicial institutions, empowered civil society, and enhanced law enforcement while safeguarding freedom of expression. Economically, we restored macroeconomic stability with GDP growth managing around 6% for 10 years, and notably, public debt falling below 25% of GDP. More importantly, we made tangible progress in reducing poverty and improving access to education and healthcare for our citizens. On the global stage, Indonesia became more proactive and influential, joining the G20, hosting annual Bali Democracy Forum, and advocating for peace and multilateralism within the UN, APEC, and ASEAN. These experiences taught me that sustainable prosperity can only be achieved when we combine economic progress, social justice, democratic values, and international cooperations. This holistic approach is the bedrock of lasting success. Now, let us turn our attention to the dynamic and the global context we found ourselves in. Today's global environment is characterized by increasing complexity and volatility. Great powers like the United States, China, Russia, and Europe are redefining their roles on the world stage, leading to an escalation of strategic rivalries. Sadly, war and conflict persists, casting long shadows from, for example, war in Ukraine, war in Gaza, and lastly, war between Iran and Israel. We are also seeing the escalations of geopolitical tensions in East Asia, Southeast Asia, and also South Asia. Diplomatic channels, which is crucial for de-escalation, are under immense strain. One of the defining features of this decade is the reordering of the global economic order. It catalyzed by the rise of China and the growing roles of other large emerging economies. China's global trade reached 6 trillion US dollars in 2024. Its trade with both the United States and Southeast Asia now each can account for about 12% of the total. The ongoing economic tension between the US and China, particularly tariff escalation, could reshape global value chain. While these tensions carry risk, they also offer opportunities. As some industries consider relocating from China, Southeast Asia could become a prime destination, not just for low-cost labor, but as a strategic hub of innovation, logistics, and regional integration. At the same time, Southeast Asia must be agile in navigating this new world. As we see China as an important source of technological capital, we also see the US and the West as indispensable sources of financial capital. Therefore, we need to maintain relationship with both, based on principle of mutual respect, mutual trust, and mutual benefit. Ladies and gentlemen, Southeast Asia is rich in promise, but also riddled with challenges. We are home to almost 700 million people, 4 trillion US dollars economy, a growing middle class, and youthful demographic. But our diversity, so often as a strength, can also complicate policy coordination. Consider this: Singapore's GDP per capita exceeds 90,000 US dollars, while in Laos, it is below 2,000 US dollars. The regional average is less than 5,000 US dollars. If we want to rise collectively, we must work harder on 3 fronts. First, we must elevate our human capital through higher investment in both tertiary and non-tertiary education. Without skilled workers and critical thinkers, we will fall behind the age of automation and artificial intelligence. Second, we must strengthen our economic resilience. Most of our economies operate with low tax GDP ratios. I should say low tax to GDP ratios, only 10 to 16%, and limited money supply relative to GDP. We must expand fiscal space and improve financial intermediation, especially for the small and medium enterprises. Third, we must tell our story better. The world often views Southeast Asia through a fragmented lens. We must craft a more compelling regional narrative, one that highlights our connectedness, dynamisms, and values. In an era of digital diplomacy, storytelling is a strategic capital. Let us now speak candidly about technology. There is no doubt Southeast Asia is currently experiencing a technology winter. 10 years ago, global investors poured capital into regional technology ventures, showing exponential growth similar to China's trajectory. But with the exceptions of Vietnam, the growth in purchasing power and digital consumption in the region has not met the expectations. However, the long-term prospect remains solid if we make the right moves. In my view, Southeast Asia must recognize that, first, for the foreseeable future, we will be more consumers of the artificial intelligence than creators of it. There is not a weakness, in my view, but it is to be seen as a stage of development. Second, artificial intelligence is energy incentive. Well, I should say, is energy intensive. Artificial intelligence is energy intensive. It requires power infrastructures, and green power generation must be part of our strategy. Third, many key sectors, healthcare, agriculture, biodiversity, advanced manufacturing, have yet to be touched by technology and artificial intelligence. This is where productivity gains, economic competitiveness, and regional relevance can come from. In summary, technology is not a destiny. It is a tool, and we must use it wisely, inclusively, and sustainably. If we truly wish to unlock Southeast Asia's full potential, deeper cooperation is a must. This includes cooperation in 4 areas. First, food and energy security, to reduce vulnerabilities in a volatile world. Second, infrastructure and digital connectivity, to enhance integration. Third, labor mobility and educational, an education framework to ensure inclusive growth. Fourth, supply chains and trade arrangement. Supply chain and trade agreement to ensure we remain relevant in global commerce. Remember, cooperation cannot happen without trust. Trust among government, trust between public and private sectors, and trust between states and their citizens. Trust is also vital in attracting long-term foreign direct investment. Investors want to know that our rules are stable, our systems are fair, and our societies are resilient. Let's show them that ASEAN is not just open for business. We are ready for the future. In closing, let me say this. The 21st century can be Southeast Asia century, but only if we unite for prosperity, unite for purpose. Let us imagine a future where our economies are growing inclusively, green, and resilient. Our people are empowered, educated, and hopeful. Our government are cooperative, competent, and principled. This is not a utopia. It is a vision within reach if we work together, not in isolation. As I used to say, we are stronger together not because we are the same, but because we choose to share a future. If we want to go fast, go alone. If we want to go far, go together. Let us make that choice again today. I thank you.